All right, everyone, welcome back. I'm Sean Dwayne, got Nick holding the camera, and this is episode 10 of the journey of the abandoned house. And so this past week, we worked on this back wall of the building, where, as you saw in the previous episode, we finished up the driveway side. So my goal here is just to go from one wall to the next, and wrap ourselves around. And that plan may be changing as I continue to talk to spray foamers and sheetrockers and the subs that I want to bring in to help us on this project. But for right now, we're going to stay with that plan until we get some more scheduling finished. And last week we had a day where we couldn't work. The high was 1 degree, and it started out at negative 17. At that point, the compressor's not going to work. We're not going to be willing to work that hard, and it just didn't make sense. So I stayed home and worked on the design plans for our next round of projects for some customers that we have, and try to get those submitted to the appropriate authorities. So what we did manage to get done was frame out these windows, and that was its own inherent challenge in an old house. So if you're looking to do something like this, you've got to be very careful on the framing, on how it's loaded. Are you on a loaded wall? Are you not on a loaded wall? And pay attention to, if you're doing a big project like this and you have a set of engineering drawings, what they require to have above a loaded wall window or not. In our case, our engineer drew up for any window under 6 feet wide, had to have two 2x10s nailed together on jack studs. And that's exactly what we did here. We have 5 windows going in on this wall. We have a 6th window going right behind me, behind the staging there. That got framed out a long time ago. And so we were able to get the windows framed in. We had a bit of an issue with the way this house is framed and how we had manipulated it in the past. So, as I've mentioned before, this back corner was about 5 or 6 inches lower than it is right now. It had a significant fall. And that was due to several factors. And mainly, the little roof above there was rotted, the roof on the outside that met this wall was rotted, and we just had a lot of damage there, and it just collapsed down. That was all jacked up, but it took a tremendous amount of force. I used 2 20-ton jacks to jack up that corner in order to make the floor work again and bring up this wall where it belongs, and bring up the wall above it where it belongs. That's a tremendous amount of force to have there. And the other problem was that we did that well over a year ago, and we did not finish framing out this wall. So what happened was, all that force, when it got pushed up, it wanted to settle back down. And it did. It broke one of the top plates up here that we had to cut out and replace. And the studs from above, being a balloon frame, would come down, and all that force was just pushing and manipulating this floor. So as you'd walk on the floor above us, it would do the roller coaster ride. And what we ended up doing at each window, and why it took so long, it took us about 2 days to frame out 5 windows. That's ridiculous. It shouldn't take that long. But if you're doing it correctly, and you have the problems that this house has, then yes, it's going to take that long. And so we had to bring jack posts in at each location, figure out where we wanted the head height of the header, and cut it out for that location. And then when you go to put it in, each time the other side was going to be too low. So I had to bring jack posts in, jack up the floor joists above it, and then make sure it wasn't manipulating anything above that too badly. And then put the header in, lower the floor back down, and just do that process over and over again while we did each one of these windows. We also had to make sure we left studs in the appropriate locations for sheetrock in the future. So that all, and doing the layout and design for where the window should go and the orientations, it just takes a lot of time. So we chewed up 2 days doing that. And then on Thursday, we managed to get to the outside and get some siding on the building. So let's go ahead and show you that. All right, as you can see, same siding that we've been using on the other side of the building. And there's a few little details that I want to show you and why we did it. So as you can see down here, you've got some flashing exposed underneath, and the siding is, cut out for that. And the reason for that is that this elevation here, I wanted to keep completely level to the other side of the building. And I also didn't want it to just rot out. And with all of this rock pile and the earth that's here, the snow is just going to sit here, as you can clearly see, and it's just going to build up. And as you get your melting and refreezing, what happens is the snow will sit here and it'll just rot out these two components. Now this one, we did cut short so that you can replace it in the future. And then, but this one, the siding is so much harder to replace, I wanted to give the best advantage for this particular piece that I could give it, and that is giving it this little cutout. Now every surface of these boards is stained, so the new homeowner will have the longest longevity of the material that I could possibly give it. So we did that, and as you can see, if you look above on the trim board, you see all that black spray paint. That's a little detail that we like to do so that when the boards come in and butt to that, it'll give like a shadow line and won't expose the Tyvek from the outside, or to the outside. Then over here we have the crawl space access. Just the same trim boards that we've been using. I did a jam extension on the inside to create basically a box to attach to. The bottom sill of this jam extension is cut with a 5-degree bevel, so that when this snow melts or rain hits it, it'll land here but then run off to the inside. And that is simply done by just cutting the 5-degree bevel on these two down legs. We use the same stain that we've been using on the building. It just, this door is original to the house, so it's 100-some years old, so it has its own unique aesthetics to it. And then back there, we have the same detail that I described in the first corner, and just cut it out longer. And that's all flashing behind there. And then obviously you can see we put the aluminum pole system back up, and we've got Hugo staging going on over here, and we'll be ready to get going on this side of the building. But we'll see how the weather treats us. As you can see, it's snowing here today. The snow doesn't bother me, but the cold can shut us down. And tomorrow I think we have a high of 1, a start of -8 or -6. So Nick and I will talk about it, see what we come up with for a plan, and go from there. If you got any questions, please put them down below, and we'll do the best of job to answer them. All right, see you later, guys.